They're young, they're French, and they're part of a generation known as Generation Y. A generation less than 30 years old, they're said to number 13 million in France, or about 1/5 of the population. They're also called digital natives, raised on internet, they're connected, they're well-informed, but they're also feeling increasingly sidelined by an older generation they say doesn't help them when it comes to finding work, housing, and overall responsibility. Ophelie Latil is 28 years old. She's about to finish a short-term work contract with little prospects of being hired full-time. She belongs to a movement called Generation Precarious, a generation she says is being increasingly sacrificed.
There's a sort of humiliation, the idea that we've studied, we've invested a lot. We've asked others to invest in us both financially and emotionally, and we really believed what we were told in school or during our internships. You'll see, you will earn 40,000 euros per year, a glorious future awaits you, and it's only at the end that you realise that you're in debt, that you can't find housing, you can't find work, and the only offers are internships, not even short-term contracts. The problem is that no one tells you that in France, less than 10% of internships end up with a full work contract. So 90% of interns end up looking for work after their last internship.
Michael Attia is 29 years old and unemployed. The startup company where he worked for the past 18 months went bankrupt. Like Ophelie, he belongs to Generation Precarious. And like Ophelie, he feels his generation is overeducated, but underpaid or not paid at all in return. Yet when it comes to the presidential elections, Generation Y has a new idea to get their voice heard. Standard & Poor's, Moody's and Fitch. These names have come to symbolize the frustration of many who feel they've lost control to these agencies which for decades have rated everything from banks to products to countries. But for Generation Y, here's the answer, or at least part of it. A new credit rating agency called Young and Poor. This agency rates each presidential candidate on their campaign proposals regarding the young, from creating jobs and housing to social integration. The overall grades are not good.
What we wanted to hear was not just vague campaign proposals with little substance. We want the candidates to go deeper, to follow through on their proposals so that, in the end, these proposals can help young people enter the job market and actively participate and integrate into today's society.
But how to convince the young that today's presidential candidates can represent them? This is the goal behind an association called Assez de Feu, which means Stop the Fire. It was born out of the frustration when back in 2005, riots and fires erupted in Paris's troubled suburbs, areas known for high unemployment, violence and segregation. Mohamed Thibault wants young people to use their rights.
It's a conscious awakening, that's it. Because in 2005 they told us burn cars, get mad, etc. I completely agree with this idea of protest, but not the burning. For us, the best way to fight injustice is to use the means, our rights as French citizens. Don't forget that the right to sign petitions is part of our history. It's also symbolic. So we really are using the means, the tools behind our very republic to be heard. And we're all children of the French Republic. We may be children of immigrants, but we're all children of the Republic. We're all French.
In France, like throughout Europe, it's those under 30 who have been hit hardest by the economic crisis. A generation whose #1 concern is jobs, a concern not limited to city borders. In this town near the Swiss border, Gaël Tessier runs a goat farm. He's 26 years old. Gaël says a lack of political support for an industry which was long the pride of France has left him skeptical about campaign promises.
We don't feel like they're really paying attention to us. They go to the inner cities, and that's good, but here we haven't seen any presidential candidates. We have local elected officials or deputies who come here on a regular basis and are involved. But when you go a bit higher, well, we don't burn cars. It's sad to say it that way, and too bad, since we have just as many things to say.
In the last 20 years, the number of farmers under the age of 30 has been reduced by more than a half. Today, there are less than 25,000 to want to work the land. But Gaël, like his urban peers, argues the best way to be heard is by voting.
I'm a big defender of voting. People died so we could have the right to vote. So it's very important, even if it's just to express yourself, your ideas. That's the way we can change things. It's all fine to criticize all the time, but then, oh yeah, I didn't vote. Well, then no one heard your idea. There are candidates. You have to look at their program. Maybe there are some who motivate or interest us. Candidates we might want to see. Young people need to rally to get active if they want to be heard. That's how it starts.
Getting active is the idea behind the startup company in Paris, which helps both companies and students find each other in the world of internships. It's a growing business. The number of internships in France has jumped from 800,000 to over 1.5 million in the past 4 years. But here, protecting students' rights is priority.
I've been through the internship route. I'm in contact with interns all the time. I talk to them every day on the phone, and I know that it isn't always easy. But it's true that there has been a change in mentalities. More and more people understand the real value of an internship and how it helps train and prepare a student.
Kevin Gonzalez is a business student who got his internship through this company. He agrees internships are necessary to enter the job market, especially when the unemployment rate among France's young generation is almost 22%, more than twice the French national average.
Recently, we've been talking about this phenomenon called Generation Y, a term born out of all these social networks, internet, mobile phones, a connection to the world, to events in real time. And it's true that politicians, even if they went to all these top schools, there's always a bit of a time gap for them when it comes to real time. It's true that some of the main issues of these elections are the young and jobs, but I don't think there's enough. Regarding the campaigns, the proposals, there's some, but nothing very concrete. There's just not enough.
Not understanding the next generation. While this is nothing new, voting abstention among the French young is expected to reach record levels. More than a third have said they won't vote. A sign that for Generation Y, politicians need to work on the answers.